Hola y bienvenidos a Deuces fucking Wild, baby! Will the Thrill Clark back from a cruise in Alaska. And I was just telling you the story, dude, before we came online, that I was in the airport in North Carolina yesterday. And this elderly woman, 75 plus, cute, by the way. And I think she kind of had a little thing. She was asking me, she's like, well, what are you guys doing here? I'm like, oh, baseball tournament. Yeah, we got into it. And then I said, well, where are you coming from, ma'am? And she goes, Alaska on a cruise. I said, oh, you must have met my friend Will.
My buddy, the Thrill. So
she goes, I don't recall a Will, but she goes, you know what boat he was on? And apparently they got the Nina, the Pinta, and the fucking Santa Maria out there on like 3 different cruises.
Hey, look, you know how it is. I mean, we went up there. We've gone to the Caribbean before, went to the Mediterranean, and the only one left on the list was Alaska. I've never been to Alaska. My wife hadn't been to Alaska, so we said we were going to strap it on and go. We did. It was gorgeous up there. I mean, it was 40s and 50s. There was a few days where it rained, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, not anything more than I'm used to. And took a few little, tours. We did one train up in the mountains and stuff. Tried to get on some Alaskan king crab and maul some of that, of which Trey absolutely annihilated it. And back late last night, today been running around. And this is kind of why I told you, I said, if we didn't do the show tonight, we'll be able to do next week. But then the following week, I'm going to be in Eugene. I'm going to miss out. Plus on top of that, it's 4th of July that Tuesday. So It's like, let's do it. Let's do it Wednesday, and we'll get at least 2 weeks in before I head off to Eugene.
So what was the activity that you did coming off of that cruise that you'll look back on and be like, man, that was sweet?
I just enjoyed getting the hell out the weather. Linda even said it, earlier in the chat. She was like, how'd you like the Pacific Northwest? And, I've been to Seattle a few times, and it's been, kind of hit and miss. One day it's sunny, one day it's not. And to go on a cruise and just get that nice cool weather. And today I was in the truck. It was 97. Heat index was 108 down here today. So I am back to reality, put it this way. But it was enjoyable being in the Pacific Northwest. I loved it.
So in the meantime, the Gigantes have been absolutely fucking killing it, dude. 9 in a row.
On fire.
What have you seen differently? What do you think is the magic formula behind how and why they've been able to be successful?
I go back to what I saw, in when they had the 107 win season. It's not been one person. It's been a few different guys. Some of the rookies are doing a good job. They give them a little life, a little spark in the not only the dugout but also the clubhouse. But it was Jock's turn last night. The night before was Yastrzemski's turn. So it's been coming from a little bit everywhere. Plus the pitching staff's doing a good job. I mean, they've had these late inning rallies, but the reason that they've had these late inning rallies is because not only the starters but the bullpen have not let the game get away. They've kept it close. They've kept it a 1 or 2 run game. And as you well know, man, it's a bloop and a blast, and you're right back in the middle of everything. So, it's been fun watching it. You and I talked about it. They had, they were floundering around bad, right? But then they had a run where they won, like, I don't know, maybe 11 out of 15, something like that. And they cut the lead to about maybe 6 right up in there. And then now they've been on this 9 in a row, but out of this, it's like 11 out of 13. And now all of a sudden you look up, they're 2 games out. I mean, man, they're right in the thick of it right now.
Dude, like when I watch them, it seems like, in a sense, they're a little like the Reds. And ironically, the Reds have won 10 in a row. But they have this mix of rookies and veterans. And the one thing that I would say from playing on successful playoff teams throughout the course of the year is that the motto of anybody, anytime is fucking real.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have to rely on one dude or even two dudes, you can rely on an entire lineup 1 through 9 to help you get it done.
Yeah. And then that's the thing, you rely on 1 through 9, but yet at the same time, if somebody does get hot, especially one or two guys in the middle of the lineup get hot, man, they can carry the team. And right now they're doing it all the way around. Like I said, they're doing it with pitching. Bullpen hasn't let it get away. They've kept it in the ballpark. And then, they have had some walk-offs, which are always fun, but tonight looks like they're going to have a bullpen game because Ryan Walker's starting tonight against Yu Darvish, who the Giants have seen quite a bit. So this ought to be an interesting matchup. One thing to note, and I think it has to do more with Lamont Wade being a little banged up, is they got Jock Peterson as their leadoff hitter tonight. So it's kind of weird how, these things get, spun around and you go from hitting 6th or 7th, all of a sudden now you lead off. Yastrzemski was hitting 6th or 7th, now he's in the 2-hole. So it's been kind of fun watching the guys make the adjustments.
Where are you on lineup changes? Because dude, you were a 3-hitter. You fucking hit third. That's like what you did. But I look at it and I struggle this with myself as a baseball coach. How often and when, dude, my big issue is like, if I want to make a lineup change, I don't want to be overreactionary. So when we play on weekends, and let's just say, I don't know, our 5-hitter struggles, and it's like, is it worth moving him to 7 or 8 when I'm like, dude, if I move him to 7 or 8, maybe all of a sudden he loses confidence. And, these are short weekends. So I kind of, usually when I go into a weekend, I'll stick with the same lineup. And then if I'm going to make the adjustment, I do it afterwards. But I was also a guy where I would show up at the ballpark, and I'm not kidding you. I would hit leadoff one day. I'd hit cleanup the next. And then if I was any sort of scuffle, like I literally would have hit fucking 9th.
Yeah, no, I get it. And, I'm from that era, you had more of a specific job, so, your leadoff hitter, Brett Butler, knew exactly what he had to do to get on base. Robbie Thompson knew, he was going to be hitting and running, bunting and running, getting runners over, I'm driving runners in, but yet I'm setting up the guys behind me, stuff like that. So, you kind of knew your job. Now they're going with so many, we talked about it before. They're going with so many matchups that, hey, look, if you're going to chunk, 6 lefties in the lineup, it's like, all right, how do we fit all 6 of these guys in there? And, to answer your question, as far as like the kids, especially, if you got a 5-hole dude, right, and he's been your 5-hole guy, he scuffles a little bit, this one game, I would not push the panic button unless you as a coach saw something completely out the ordinary. Mechanics changed. You got something that you were like, whoa, that's something new right there. I got to get him down in the lineup tomorrow and let him work on it a little bit, whatever it is. But, for me personally, hey, it's baseball. Everybody's going to have good days, bad days. It doesn't matter whether it's on the major league level, kids level. And, just let them go out there, play, have some fun.
There's one specific weekend that I can think about where we had a couple of our kids that were really, really shuffling. And I pulled them aside in between games. It was like after the first game of the doubleheader. When I say they didn't touch the ball, they didn't touch the ball. And I pulled them aside. I'm like, look, here are the things we want to focus on and work on and going into it. And I talk about A to B. And the A is knob of the bat, right? The catcher, we're in launch position. B. And I'm like, guys, we're just getting to A too late. So if we get to A too late, you're not like, all of this is a process. It was funny because in a similar but unrelated thing, I was talking to Colton about hitting the other day, and he had somehow kind of gotten his hands in here, and if he got here, he was fine. He got the launch position on time.
Right.
But this is a long way to go, man. It reminded me of you a little bit earlier in your career.
Right.
And then I said, hey, just for shits and giggles, we're hitting off the iron mic machine. I got it cranked up to like 72. I go, why don't we take the hands and rest your bat on the shoulder and then pull them up, and then, we're a little bit higher. He's like, oh, okay. Okay. He started hitting a little bit better. I go, now, once again, shits and giggles. Let's pull them up to your ear and just see how that feels. And I was like,
Yeah.
And he was giving me this look like
like unbelievable.
When it's easy to get here, it's easy to hear.
Hey, you know what? And this is for everybody in the chat room too. Okay. I absolutely love what you just said. All right. But even better was the face that you just made, because my spies, even though I was in Alaska, they're sending me stuff, baby. So check it out. This would be Eric Burns drunk off his ass, having a turtle bite him in the nose. All right. So Credelli, for you right there, I'm getting even for you here. And then, and then here is the look of shame that we just had just now. It's like, oh my God, the bastard bit me in the nose.
That's called sacrifice, dude. That's commitment to the San Francisco Bay Area, the Oakland A's organization. That's Taco the Rally fucking turtle.
Hey, all of my spies in the chat room, thank you for checking in on me in Alaska, making sure that I had a little EB ammo when I came on board this week.
Oh, dude. So did Trey enjoy Alaska?
He had a good time. He was a little pissed because they didn't have Budweiser on the boat. They only had Bud Light. He don't drink Bud Light. He was a straight Budweiser guy. So he was a little pissed at that. And then the internet wasn't working that good. So he had a few little problems, but he made it through. We were all right.
And he follows baseball on a pretty daily baseball, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, every night, he'd come in, grab my phone, go in there, look at the scores, look at the box scores and all that sort of stuff. So
what do you make? You're going to Eugene in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make so far of what the young guys for the San Francisco Giants have been doing?
So, we talked about, the team in Richmond and, some of the guys I thought were doing really well. They've kind of stepped it up here a little bit. They're doing real well. Some of the guys in Eugene, even though they're a lot of talent and they're actually doing fairly decent. They're 33 and 31, but it's kind of like, you hot and cold. And so these are the kind of things that pop up every day for me. It's like, it'll tell you what the score is. Then it gives all of these pitching breakdowns. With the pitcher, what he's throwing, what his times to the plate are. And then you come around here and you got the hitters, needless to say. You got
upside down, but
who they are, who they are, how many times they come up there, what they did, what part of the ballpark they hit the ball to. And so, I can look at these reports. I print them out every day when I'm going to see a team. That way I get a little pattern on these guys. And when I go see them, I pretty much know what they've been working on, if it's working, if it's not working, if they're uncomfortable, comfortable, whatever it might be.
So Ryan Walker, who's the starting pitcher tonight, game goes off in 30 minutes, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a dude that's throwing that nasty, nasty shit, right?
Yeah, he's the across the side guy with the slider and the changeup. So he's big time on deception, believe it or not. And I thought this was kind of funny. I mean, I looked at his stats just a minute ago. He's only got one strikeout, but he's inducing very weak contact. And hey, one thing I wanted to run. Somebody said, something about the Rangers in the chat. So I said, all right, let me pull up the standings. So I went to the standings, right? The AL East, they still, all 5 teams are still above 500, and they're in the green as far as run differential goes. Now, you're going to laugh at this one. Cincinnati, we just talked about them. Cincinnati just ran off 10 games in a row. They're 40-35. Now they're in first place, in the NL Central. They have a minus 14 run differential. So, a lot of times, and the point I'm trying to make here is a lot of times these statistics, sometimes, they give you a pattern, but then sometimes the patterns kind of go out the window. So basically what I'm saying with Cincinnati is when they lose by a lot. And when they win in, 3-2, 4-2, whatever it is.
But dude, they're a different team right now than they were to start the year. This is so Thrill. I want your opinion on this. The Cincinnati Reds, who have made the postseason one time out of the past 10, they haven't won a World Series since 1990, 33 years ago, have staked claim as being America's team. Your thoughts?
Well, the one thing it used to be, and you well know it. Opening day was always in Cincinnati every year. Opening game, the first game of the season was in Cincinnati. And, they kind of drafted that as, America's team. And then, the Braves got it when they got, TBS or whatever it was. But, they've always been a really good organization. And to kind of see them floundering around there for a while, it's good to see them, kind of back in the mix. Atlanta's kicking butt over there in the East. The team that I'm kind of surprised at, believe it or not, is Mike Lasaggi's St. Louis Cardinals. They're dragging up 10 games out of first over there, and they got Arenado in the lineup. They got Goldschmidt in the lineup. I was expecting them to be a little bit more contenders at this point of the year.
Yeah, St. Louis is dog shit.
Yeah,
they're not good. Pittsburgh's faded miserably. They're 1-9 in their past 10. Cincinnati, they're sitting on top, like you mentioned, 40-35. They've won again today. They've won 11 in a row, dude. I had a call with our social guy, like Henry, and Henry and I were bullshitting, and I did another Ellie De La Cruz video because this guy's hitting routine ground balls and then beating them out for base hits. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. We need to celebrate it. So we made another Cincinnati video, and he was kind of giving me shit. He's like, dude, what are we, the Cincinnati Reds network sort of thing? Like Cincinnati, we're Cincinnati. I'm like, bro, you know what we are? We're a network of fucking, where we champion great things and great talents and great plays and great players. That's what we want to do. And Cincinnati, bro, they're the story right now. They really are.
Yeah. And then they're being led by David Bell, good baseball man. Matter of fact, believe it or not, before he became the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, he was the San Francisco Giants minor league director. So I know David real well, besides, having played against, his whole family. So it's kind of neat. But, to go back to everything that's going on, you even talked about it. Here's a perfect example. The Cubs are 8-2 in the last 10, and if anything, they've lost a game to the Reds, because the Reds reeled off 11 in a row. So, hey, it's baseball. It's fun. It's middle of summer. It's heating up before the All-Star game here. And I'm thinking that after the All-Star game, we're going to have some interesting races.
Obviously, the Giants are in this thing. I would have never suspected that we'd be this far into the season. We're literally approaching the halfway point. We're 75 games, dude.
Yeah. No. And then here's the thing, I tip my cap all the time, when somebody does it right, but they've overcome the injuries. DeSclafani was on a DL, Cobb was on a DL, Wood is on a DL. Those are three frontline starters, and they've made do. They've done it, however they needed to run out there. Logan Webb got hot. He carried it for a little bit. Like I said, the bullpen's been, doing a fabulous job. Some of the new additions like Taylor Rogers, people like that. Duvall stepped up. I mean, he's been unhittable in the closer role. So it's been really fun to watch. You know, needless to say, I was on a cruise, but before that, I was enjoying watching the games.
So firing away in the chat, of course, are Nora and Luker and Linda, and we got Josh O'Neill. Josh, what's up, buddy? Pete, I mean, it's slamming, dude. How about Josh? He says picture 6'5", 270 at first. And I don't know if Josh is talking about himself. 6'5", 270. That's a big-ass boy, dude.
Hey, those are my kind of bouncers I like to have around my ass.
Yeah, I mean, you do want them by your side. How important, though? Like, I mean, how tall are you?
6'1".
6'2"? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you weren't this gigantic target at first base.
No.
Am I mistaken on this? Or were you, like, when you picked the ball, like, I felt like you picked fucking everything, man.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
So here was the thing, you know, and I've told a lot of people this, you know, when you go up to your infielders and you say, look at me. I am not Michael Jordan. I am not going up there to get the ball. But if you throw it down here, I work on that shit every day. I'm going to pick it for you, brother. I'm going to save you some errors. Just get it down there. And it's amazing when you go to an infielder or an outfielder, you know, when you're hitting cutoff men and stuff like that, bam, you hit them in the chest all the time. It's like, dude, you know, you get as an outfielder, you get more confidence. Just, I'm going to throw the shit out of this one, hit him right dead center in the chest. Same thing with an infielder. You know, you start picking a few balls on them over there, and they're like, shit, I'm just letting it go. And all of a sudden they let it go and they make great throws. So, you know, it's that confidence factor, you know.
We had a really good practice today. It was basically let them play, got invited to play in this USA Futures event. So it's 24 top programs in the country. And we had a crash course test, whatever you want to call it. Today, we went over all the like minor specific details and everything. We did cutoffs and relays, who's taking what, who's moving where, who's trailing where, what are we trying to accomplish. And one of the things I knew that I liked as an outfielder, because when you get the ball sometimes, you see like a lot of people. So if I have like a legit play at home and I'm playing left or right field, if I'm the third baseman or first baseman, throw your fucking hands up. Like, I want to see this. Like,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. So, and then this is what I teach when I go to work with our first baseman and our infielders, okay? When they are going out to give you a cut, all right, not only are they squaring up to you and they're making themselves look big, but like you said, you're giving them freaking goalposts to throw through, you know? And man, they're going to hit you in the face all the time. And it's the same thing with the infielder. I am giving him a big target. I'm squared up to him. If I turn this way, I become a small, thin target. But if I turn this way, I'm squared up and I'm thicker, I'm bigger. So it makes it better that way.
Question.
Hey, while we're talking about this, and this goes back to the history of the game too, by the way. The Giants and Cardinals, MLB announced that the Giants and Cardinals next year on June 20th are going to play in Birmingham at Rickford Field. Don't the Bananas play there?
Old Rickwood, we played there, dude.
Boom.
How about that?
So now check this out. So Rickwood in Birmingham is the oldest professional baseball field in the United States. It was home to the former, Negro leagues. They had so many stars coming through there. Besides Willie Mays, I mean, you can go through this list that's on here. I mean, people like Stan Musial, Duke Snyder. It wasn't necessarily the Negro players. It was the white players playing against them. I mean, it was unbelievable how many people came through this field. And so the Cardinals and Giants are going to play there next year. And MLB, the city of Birmingham, and somebody else are going to go ahead and kind of upgrade that facility. So the oldest ballpark in the United States is going to get a facelift because we're going to play there.
That's really cool. So, you know what's awesome about Old Rickwood and they play very few games there now. But they have lights. And the last I heard, and this is going to be interesting to see what happens with it, the lights don't work anymore. And so we had to get our game done in a certain amount of time. And there was a rainstorm that had come in. But the lights, you ready for this? Are the fucking lights from Ebbets Field.
No.
If it's not Ebbets Field, it's the Polo Grounds. One or the other. But look at the lights. And they're like the extended lights. It is so fucking cool, man.
Hey, you know what? That right there would be worth it just to go see that for the historical factor. You know, I mean, just the fact that, like you said, if it wasn't Ebbets Field, it was the other one, the Polo Grounds. But it's the fact that they're still in use from way back when. So
Luker, let's put Luker on it. As I look at the chat, man, the chat's firing.
good.
We got Jason on here as well. So there's a question here that I was looking at a minute ago. And where were we? Oh, Bill brings this up. So, Brill, have you been paying attention to Luis Ariz, the kid that's hitting 400? He's a fucking machine. He's a modern day Tony Gwynn. I've never seen anybody like him. Like, Tony Gwynn's the only comparison I can really even like make at this point of all the guys that I've seen play in my lifetime.
I'm gonna, I've seen bits and pieces of him, but I've never watched him like on a consistent basis. I need to tune in because, like you said, I mean, the kid's on fire. He's got all these multiple hit games, and that was the signature calling card for Tony Gwynn. And for me personally, guys that hit like that, that's a hitter. That's not a swinger. A guy who's up there, finding ways to put the bat on the ball, finding the holes, hitting the ball that way, hitting the ball this way, hitting the ball with power, driving in runs, the whole works. That's a hitter. That's not a swinger.
At what point do you decide, and I thought about this. I thought about this with Ichiro when I watched him hit nuke after nuke after nuke in BP. And then I watched him just slap the ball the other way during the games and take his hits and get his hits. And he's like, look, I guess this is what I'm going to do. This is who I am, even though I can do this. At what point is it that you go, man, like, I feel like you found it like an incredible balance, right? 300 homers, hit 300 for your career. That's a balance. That's a nice balance. Was it hard finding that balance?
It was kind of my forte when I was in college, and that's one of the reasons why I got drafted so high. And then, when I got into pro ball, I tried to keep it going. And then, needless to say, when you got on the major league side of things, you got the best that's out there against you. And so I tried to literally pick everybody's brain that came down to first base. And like, you and I talked about it, but like Tony Gwynn, we got to be good friends. But everybody that came down there, if I respected them as a hitter and I respected what they were doing, I was picking their brain, Boggs, Griffey, Edgar Martinez, Keith Hernandez, and some of your lesser known guys, Tim Raines, Ellis Valentine, some guys that you wouldn't think of. One guy that I talked to quite a bit, and it just clicked on first base was Willie Stargell, Pops. Every time I had a chance to talk to Pops, I was like, oh my God, that made all the sense in the world. And, so a lot of fun.
So in 1964, Stephen Luker is breaking the story right now. The GM of the Birmingham Barons bought 1,000 wooden seats from ... the Polo Grounds.
The Polo Grounds. Nice job, Stephen. Atta baby. Baby.
Wait, there's more.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. If they buy in the freaking seats, they might have chunked in the lights to go with it.
Dude, I guarantee you they did. And by the way, because I just took a really strong sip of tequila, we are sponsored by 818 Tequila. Now, understand this. I'm away from home. So because 818 did not travel with me in my suitcase, I'm going to introduce you to my mistress, Casamigos.
Casamigos, you got blue agave in your brain now.
What was your beverage of choice on the trip to Alaska?
Well, they did have Coors Light, believe it or not. So I had a few Coors Light, but I was in the mood to warm from the inside out. So my French brethren, the old Jacques Daniel, he was present every day.
Well,
So.
when the sun goes down, out comes the brown. It's still one of my favorite
but this time, well, I had to make an exception because the freaking sun didn't go down till 11 o'clock at night. So I was freaking firing up Jack early on. So,
question for you, because Andy Morris is firing away in the chat as well. He's a diehard Braves fan.
Yes, he is.
So much that he named his kids. I know one of them's Murphy. And the other one, I want to say it's Chipper. I don't think it is, though. Give it to me, Amo. But the Braves, obviously, one of the most successful, teams, world champs, everything. Is that who you follow down there?
Believe it or not, I mean, when I was growing up, it was before TBS got involved and all that, even WGN. The only station that we got down at home was the Royals. So I became a big, huge George Brett guy. So
was that the guy you looked up to?
By the way, you even brought it up just now, and this is for Andy too. It's weird how this works. Dale Murphy texted me today because wherever he's at in Utah, they're trying to get an expansion team, and I don't know whether it's an expansion team on the major league side of things or on the minor league side of things, but they're trying to get expansion, and Murph's all up in the middle of it. And one of the guys who's like a big to-do down there is a huge Giants fan, grew up with us, all that sort of stuff. And Murph showed me a picture of a golf ball, and the golf ball had 22, and it said Will the Thrill. He said the guy, that's all he hits is Will the Thrill golf ball. He has them made and all that sort of shit. I'm like, that's cool as crap.
So check this out. Because without going into too much detail, a brethren of the Let Them Play family and one of the owners of the Utah Jazz has been involved with these discussions to bring a team to Salt Lake City.
Unbelievable, ain't it? It's weird how that shit works. And then how about this one too? Because Trey and I even talked about this one when we were on the boat. Because they had a few people, you could tell they were from Vegas. They had the night stuff. I mean, that's not a old franchise, and they won the NHL title this year. How long they been in existence? Maybe 6-7 years, something like that.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, and they win the title. So I mean, if you're going to go out there, and you're going to make all these stupid rules about baseball, and we got to do this, we got to do that. Stick some more teams out there. I'd like to see more guys out there.
So CFRAC22 says, Will, could you please talk about Willie McCovey? He was my favorite player.
Oh my. The biggin. I loved him, man. I mean, I learned so much from him, not only from the standpoint of, just being a great person, but he was very knowledgeable, very soft-spoken. He would not offer information, but you see me, I'm going to go up and talk to a freaking ant. I don't care. And I talked to him about first base, why did they call you stretch? And he was the one, he was real big on when you stretch, keep your head behind the glove, and then that way you look the ball in. That was his big thing. And so I kind of adapted that and then took it even further. But, I mean, you're talking about a man, in his prime, he's 6'5", 6'6". What is he, 275, you think, maybe back then? And he was all of a man, and he's swinging a 38, 36 and letting that big dog eat, brother.
Why did they call him Stretch?
I think because he liked to go out and stretch and catch the ball at first base. I think that was one of the reasons. And then, he had he had the, you know, the big swing and all that, and getting it stretched out.
So the year was 1992, and I had just quit my job at Molina's Deli. I was a stock boy, and I got a job at Chevron, as I mentioned to you, because I wanted the patch with my name on it, and I thought it'd be fucking cool. And it was time to start filling up some gas tanks and pretending like I was checking oil, even though I didn't always find the dipstick. So the dude that would come in to Chevron more consistently than anybody else was Willie fucking McCovey.
Awesome.
Dude,
here,
so
here,
awesome.
while we're talking, let me grab one. I'll grab it for you right now. Damn it, where'd they put it?
Andre says, when can we get no filter hats? Great fucking question. We need to get these things rocking and rolling. We have an online store coming up soon. Stick with us. We got a lot of moving parts here at No Filter.
All right, here you go. Here you go. All right. So let me see if I can get this straightened up for you. So this was given to me by Mike Murphy, and it's all the Hall of Famers. You see some of them been passed, you know, and it was signed by Mike Murphy, but that's all of our Hall of Famers that were living at the time. So that's just one of the little mementos I got. So I keep them around here in my office because I like to check them out and show people and cool stuff.
What have you done with all your shit, man? Like, I mean, over the years.
Well, I mean, hang on. So like that's kind of part of my trophy room.
Oh,
right
shit.
Yeah, so like there's a silver slugger to the side of the screen, and right above the screen, that's the Golden Spikes Award. Let's see, over there in the far cabinet, right in the middle of your screen, that's a Gold Glove. And let's see, this one right here, that's right in the middle of your screen, that's the MVP award. So, you know, it's kind of, I got a bunch of stuff right here in the office with me. But then I have another trophy room upstairs that I got. Did you ever go into Mike Shannon's in St. Louis and see all the balls that were in his restaurant? We took like the columns in our house and we put the balls in it upstairs. And so I got all kinds of baseball signs. I got my jerseys up there. And then on the third floor, I got a bunch of my bats hanging out. So
is that the thing that you collected? Like, for example, like I collected bats. So like, even if, like, for example, if I ran into you or like Kirk Gibson, I did this too.
Yeah.
And I saw Kirk Gibson. I liked the contemporary. The contemporary's fine, but I got really excited about when I got to run into players that I grew up watching. So Kirk Gibson, right? So I sent him over like one of my bats. I'm like, dude, if you could have signed it for me. And so he actually signed it. I times V equals R. And I had no idea, you know, what it said or what it meant. And so the next day I go back and, you know, like Kurt, he's like, you get the bat? And like, read the bat. And I'm like, yeah, I did. But like I times V equals R, like, what does that mean? He goes, image times vividness equals reality. The more vividly you can imagine something, the more likely it is to become your reality. He goes, think big, play big. I'm like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yes, I do have 3 World Series rings, by the way. I'm answering somebody in the chat room. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, when we built this house, you know, I wanted to have a place to put all the trophies. And you know how it is. I mean, with the baseball, some of the signatures go bad and all that sort of stuff. And so I wanted to put them in a, you know, with all the humidity down there, dehumidified room, all that sort of stuff, so that the signatures didn't go bad. And, you know, it worked out pretty good. But, you know, there's all kinds of cool little mementos that I got around here that I really enjoy, you know, showing people. So.
But you have not one, but fucking 2 trophy rooms.
I got 2 trophy rooms, and then upstairs is a full length, full size. Oh shit, I don't know how long it is. Maybe 40 feet is a bat rack of nothing but bats, and kind of like you were talking about. I mean, guys that I really admired: Tony Gwynn, Edgar Martinez, George Brett, Mike Schmidt. You know, Gary Carter. I had to be a teammate of his. You know, so I tried to get bats from the good dudes, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good.
Best teammate you ever had?
Oh my God. You know, I mean, we talk about this a lot. I mean, I've had some fabulous teammates, especially with the Giants, but this guy was a teammate back in the Olympic team, and he just I don't know why he just makes me laugh. Is Bobby Witt? You know, he played at Oklahoma. He was on the Olympic team with me. He was the number one pick of the Rangers, right behind me. And then we got to be teammates when I went over to the Rangers. He's fucking hysterical, man. He just makes me laugh. I don't know how he did it. And I was like, dude, you're just a riot. I mean, you're a riot to be around. So
Well, now his kid
yeah, and
is
his
one of
kid's
the
a
best
stud
up and
now,
coming players in the game of baseball.
Yeah, he's a freaking stud. So, I was like, I mean, I remember when the kid was running around in the clubhouse, not only in diapers, but then he became our, helping pick up the jocks and all that sort of stuff. So, it's fun to see a major leaguer and where he came from. And then you know who else? And while we were on that discussion, when I was in San Francisco, was Chris Spire's kid, Justin Spire, who wound up being a major league pitcher for a long time. You know Justin well.
I played with him.
There you go. There you go.
He's a fucking psycho, man.
He is a psycho. He is a psycho. I tell you what, Chris was that kind of real low key type of guy, but he had a little psycho in him too. So,
dude, Justin, and I like Chris a lot too because I had Chris as a coach at one point, but Justin was just a pure spirit, man. Like very few people I've ever met like him. And I say like psycho, not in like a bad term. And I think Justin dealt with some shit in his life.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right. I think you're right.
He did. And he went to like this when he was still playing, bro. And he went through some things and he ended up like battling through and fighting through them and basically became like he had a nice major league career as a reliever.
He did a good job. He did a good job, as a major league reliever, and probably got, like you said, he had a problem or two here and there, but he still had plenty of time up there, and did himself proud. So that's a good thing.
All right, so we got game time coming on right now.
Yeah.
For the San Francisco Giants. I mean, it's 6:45. You like?
All right, we got Jock Peterson, Mike Yastrzemski, Jay Davis, Mr. Conforto, Luis Matos, Mr. Sable is in the squad, as Kruko would say. David VR is playing first base for Lamont Wade since he's banged up. Brandon Crawford's going to be at short, and Casey Schmidt has moved into the 9 hole. He'll be playing second tonight.
So the other thing that's going on is the draft combine. You guys never had any. I mean, I guess they used to have little mini draft combines, right? Like scout days or whatever.
You talking about as far as baseball went?
Yeah.
So they would do that. They would do that in the fall for like junior colleges, but for the 4-year colleges, they didn't do it. They just waited till the springtime, went and watch you play. I never did go like audition for a scout or anything like that. That was bullshit. I just went out there and played. Yeah.
That was it.
Never.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
Like we sit there and we're like, oh, my kid needs to do this and my kid needs to do that. And I got to send him here and I got to send him there. And he's got to do this and play in this showcase and play in that showcase. And it's like, nah, not really, man. If you fucking play and you play in front of the right people at the right time, there you go. Scouting was different back then, though.
Yeah, no. So Mr. Tatis walks up there and gets a 4-pitch walk. So Ryan Walker's got to find the strike zone. He just did. He got one back in there, so we're good. That's the thing. I mean, hey, look, I got guys, and we talk about it all the time. You and I have talked about it in the past. People in the chat room have heard me say, hey, look, there are 5 o'clock hitters. I'm telling you right now, there are 5 o'clock hitters.
True.
You see them hit, and you're like, holy shit. And then all of a sudden, you see him in the game, and you're like, he doesn't like the ball spinning in the opposite direction. And I'd rather a guy that hits at 7 than a guy that hits at 5. You know
what do you think makes a 5 o'clock hitter, though? It's like Troy Gloss and I talk about it all the time, man. I'm actually standing in the house with him right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of these guys, all they want to do is, have a home run derby. It's like, dude, 5 o'clock. That was the last thing I was worried about was hitting a homer. I'm working on, where the pitch is going to be, make sure the swing stays through it, keep your hands here, or whatever I was working on in order to perfect what I was going to see at 7 o'clock. These guys now, man, they're up there just trying to hit the ball in the freaking glove all the time. It's like, dude, man, you're not going to get that pitch in the game to do that with. All right. So you might as well work on the shit that you're going to get in the game.
So and understand this, like the hardest of hard BP pitchers, the hardest of hard are throwing like upper 60s.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And they're throwing from short, so it's getting on you. But upper 60s. It's crazy.
Hey, you know what? Andy just put on there about Nolan throwing, hard and all that sort of stuff. There was a sports trivia on the quiz every day. Trey and I went to it, and Trey was kicking ass on it. And they had one that they said, who was the first pitcher to throw 100 miles an hour? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? That is a good question because they didn't have radar guns back in the day when Bob Feller, Warren Spahn, Big Train Johnson,
Walter Johnson.
They didn't have guns, but Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Juan Marichal. They didn't have guns back in the day. Them fuckers were bringing it, brother. They were bringing it.
So I did a thing on Ohtani the other day, and a lot of people are going around saying that this could be the best player ever. And so I started thinking about like, okay, well, if he is the best player ever, how could we potentially even quantify it? There's no question he's the best player right now and the two-way player and all that. But is there a way to say that, like, yeah, he could be in the running as being the best player ever? So essentially, I broke it down into the fact that he's been an 8 to 10 win player over the past couple of years. And if he's even able to keep this up, metrically, at least from the WAR statistic, he's sitting at like 28.5 now, maybe 29.5. It keeps going up every single day. But he would have to maintain the level he's at for another 10 years. That would get him into the top 20. And that would get him just above A-Rod and just below Ted Williams. But he still would be fucking way off of where Bonds is at 162 and at where the Babe is at 182. And the two guys that you just mentioned, it was Walter Johnson and Cy Young were the two that for pitchers WAR, that number one is Babe Ruth, according to Baseball Reference. 2 and 3 are Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Barry's 4. And then it just goes, it like makes me scratch my head thinking that you're telling me fucking Ohtani can't get there. Like he can't even get close. And more than anything, I was just baffled by that. I was surprised.
That is kind of interesting one, no truth. But then again, this goes back to what you and I were talking about. I was having those discussions with the minor leaguers. Dude, when you got HOF behind your name, you're a bad SOB, brother.
Yeah.
And those guys back in the day, they were just as good as these guys now. I mean, yeah, they had to deal with different kind of elements and all that, but man, these guys, they could play, bro. So the Giants just got out of it. Walker got old Juan Soto, believe it or not, to hit into a double play. Then he walked Manny Machado, so he had 2 walks in the inning, but he got out of it. So come the San Francisco Gigantes. days.
Josh Peterson leading off. Do you like it?
You know what? They do so many different things with this lineup now that I mean, I don't know the ins and outs and why they're doing it. I don't know if Peterson's got really good numbers against Darvish or he walks a lot against Darvish and they want the on base percentage top of the lineup. Who knows? But I'm gonna sit there and see what goes on this Wago here. So
Josh O'Neill, he wants to know, who do you consider one of the biggest flameouts in MLB history? And then Josh says, he brings up Josh Hamilton, which I wouldn't consider him flameout. And look, Josh Hamilton dealt with demons and
yeah, he dealt with demons like Justin Fire we talked about, but I don't know about flameouts. They got so many people that the media, they hype up, they hype up, they hype up until you get out there and do it. You can't have a label put on you because you and I even talked about this. You got guys, they're the best from every team that they've ever played on. They're the best dude. Now they in the major leagues and they're one of the 9 of the best. So some guys can make the adjustment, some guys can't.
What about when it comes to flameouts, so to speak, and it's guys that obviously that we're looking at and we expect a lot and potentially you don't get it. Where was, and I don't know if you ever faced this guy, but it's a name that like consistently comes up as him being the nastiest pitcher in all of baseball. J.R. Richards.
Oh God Almighty! Oh, some of the nastiest stuff you've ever seen. I mean, 98 with a 92-mile-an-hour slider, 6'6", mean, like to fight, Coke bottle glasses, be squinting at you. I mean, and would drill you in a heartbeat. I mean, oh my God, he was no day at the beach. And when you talk to Dusty Baker's like, dude, I'll face anybody, but that son of a gun, So JR was one of those guys. One of the guys that I faced a lot, and he was no flame out by any stretch of the imagination. He was just flat out nasty, but he had days where he wasn't as nasty as other days. Was John Candelaria. Oh my God. From the left side, he was no day at the beach.
John Candelaria. I mean, I've heard the J.R. Richard thing.
Yeah.
But tell me about John Candelaria.
John Candelaria, 6'5", out here, 96, 97, sweepy slider. And I mean, some days you faced him and you had no chance. I mean, he was just going to dot the ball on the corners. And then other days he'd throw it right down the middle. It's like, oh, geez, what happened there? So I don't know.
J.R. Richard actually had a decent career. I mean, 107 and 71, a 3.15 ERA. He passed away in 2021, sadly.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Yeah. I've told you, I've done a lot of work with MLB alumni. I signed a lot of autographs to make money, for, the older players. J.R. Richard and one of his teammates, Jimmy the Toy Cannon Wynn, were at one point living up under an interstate.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here are 2 of the best ball players ever, and they're living up under an interstate. So a lot of times I'm signing autographs for MLB alumni to benefit our alumni so that nobody has that ever happen to them again. Another thing too, while we were talking about this, I was going on names and all that sort of stuff. I forget who it was. Somebody just mentioned Bob Gibson too. And, Andre mentioned Bob Gibson. Wow. I mean, I didn't get a chance to face the man, but oh my God, did I watch some videotape of him. And, Dusty Baker told stories. I've told y'all the stories about Bob Gibson, but, and then I retire and then the Cardinals bring me back for 3 years and I don't know why they did it, but they put my locker right next to Bob Gibson in spring training. So I'd sit next to Bob Gibson like this and I'm like, Mr. Gibson, you got enough room? I'll move over for you, anything like that. And Superman. I went and played in his golf tournament a few times. He was raising some money for a charity up there in Omaha, and played in his golf tournament a few times.
How big were his hands?
Oh God, I mean, big freaking meat hooks. And you know, he was talking about it. He was the guy. He was telling me. He said, that's where I got my velocity, was on that whip from the fingers being so long and whipping it through there. He said, and I got that rise on the fastball. And he said, then later in his career, because he had the big hands, he started putting the ball back in here and choking it, and that's how he throws his changeup.
So I was at MLB Network working, and I was about to go on air, and Pedro Martinez was coming on the set with me.
Yeah.
It was myself and Greg Amsinger and Pedro, and I happened to have my family in town. Biscuit, who was no more than 6 or 7 at the time, got to meet Pedro Martinez, and I dressed it up and I said, hey, look, this is going to be this is a Hall of Famer. This is one of the best pitchers to ever live. And Pedro was just fucking awesome, right? Like, come here, kid. And yeah. And you play baseball. You what position you play, like all this stuff. And sure enough, like, the encounter's done. And then later that night, I want to say we're lying in bed, and Biscuit goes, Daddy, do you know how big Mr. Martinez's hands are?
Whoa.
And he has really, really, really long fingers.
Yep.
Like, dude, the observation of that from a 6 or 7-year-old kid.
Yep.
Like not prompted. Like, you met Pedro Martinez, right? Like, and I didn't say, hey, look at his hands, look at his fingers, or nothing else. Dude, they're fucking like.
And if you notice, if you ever, well, I mean, if y'all pay attention, guys that got big hands, long fingers, those are the guys that throw the ball pretty well, because like we talked about, you get that little whippy motion, and those fingers holding on to the ball a little bit longer is what gives it that carry and that rise. And hey, Rodolfo just came up with one out of left field. Rodolfo, quit smoking crack. We are not going to be trading Kyle Harrison. All right. Do not even attempt to think that, because you do not get rid of your number one pitching prospect, who also happens to be one of your high round draft picks. Plus on top of that, we have not even got to the All-Star break yet. We got another month before that. We have not even got to the trade deadline yet. So there's a lot of stuff that can go haywire. And that kid Harrison, he is a smidge away from the major leagues. Dude,
De La Salle guy, left-handed pitcher.
Yep.
It's funny because
Rodolfo, that, hey, you see how you put on there, Bleacher Report and all that? That's the idiots that think they know what the hell's going on. They don't know what the hell's going on. You don't get rid of your top prospect. What kind of fucking morons are that?
You're not going to believe these fucking numbers, dude. Like Kyle Harrison, in 259 minor league innings, 423 strikeouts. He's got 47 innings pitched. He has 80 fucking strikeouts, dude.
Yeah. And Linda, I totally agree with you. I mean, when you got people like that, and this is what Eric and I were talking about a little while back, is like, the A's had, I mean, look at the prospects they've had down through the years. They had freaking Chapman and Olsen on the corners. There's a makeup right there of a major league team. 2 all-stars that are going to carry you. And what do? They get rid of both of them. Now you got to start all over again. And so, these are the kind of things that when you find the studs, you keep the studs. And especially, just like Eric talked about, when you find a stud who's a pitcher, do not deal him at all, period.
So is it control?
No, they're trying to work on his off-speed stuff. His off-speed stuff's kind of spotty, but he's got the electric fastball. His big thing about his fastball, believe it or not, is he's got the one that's like 93, 94, and just sort of, all right, give me a strike, maybe make it move a little bit. And then he's got the one where he reaches back a little bit in 97, 98 and just lights you up. And you're like,
So
and on top of that, he's the guy that, like we talked about with Pedro and those guys with the big hand, ball just jumps out of his hand like, whoa, it's like, oh, geez, where'd that come from?
So this year, though, Thrill, he's got 37 walks in 47 innings. That's a lot of fucking walks, man.
Yeah, no.
So,
But,
he's going to have to tighten that up.
Well, he's in Sacramento, and a little bit light air up there, and they're making him throw his off-speed stuff so that he can tighten it up. So there's probably some counts where he shouldn't be throwing it, and he's throwing it. So, one of them things. CFRAC 22 just brought up Brian Reynolds. I worked Brian Reynolds in the minor leagues. I did not want to get rid of him from McCutcheon. I did not want to get rid of him. He's
really
switch hitter, power from both sides. At the time, he was one of our only 300 hitters in the whole minor league system. I'm like, don't get rid of him. Don't get rid of him. Boom, he's gone. Then we had one and I couldn't believe this. I'm like, people were arguing with me. They're like, no, he's not going to hit in the major leagues. No, he's not going to hit in the major leagues. And I told him that motherfucker's going to hit freaking 30 in the major leagues every year is Duvall.
I remember the Duvall thing. That pissed me off. I didn't even realize. I forgot Brian Reynolds was even the fucking Giants system.
Yeah. So we did like Duvall and Reynolds, like, I don't know whether it was back-to-back years or there was a year in between. And I'm like, no, not those guys. But whatever.
Dude, Brian Reynolds in the offseason too. Like, this is one of the better players in baseball.
Yeah, no, I get it. And when you're going for a division title or you're trying to make it to the World Series, I know you got to give up some talent to get talent, but you also have to do a pretty damn good job of evaluating what you have. And they were trying to, and the big thing that they kept telling me was, we're trying to make Duvall a corner guy. They wanted to make either at third or at first. And he was okay. He was serviceable, but he wasn't no Gold Glover, but he could run for a big guy. And I'm like, why don't we stick him in left field and let him just whack the shit out the ball? So we've been looking for a left fielder for 10 years, ever since Barry retired. Stick him out there and he's going to hit 30. And everybody's like, no, he ain't going to hit 30. No, he ain't going to hit 30. Hey, you guys that were evaluating back then, y'all can kiss my ass because I knew it.
Dude, look, man, there's nothing more insightful, I would say, than going and watching these guys before they come up to the big leagues and having an idea of what you're dealing with. And so when you're able to get this insight and see it, and then obviously, dude, the Duvall thing, he was hitting 30 every year in the fucking minor leagues. This was going to translate, bro. You knew it was going to translate.
Not only was hitting 30, he was driving in 100 every year. It's like, you don't find those guys every day. When you find one, hang on to them.
I just realized
it's the old adage, you find a place for a guy that can hit, he could hit. And what did we do? We got rid of him. I'm like, oh, all you guys that were, now this is before, Farhan and all of those guys. The evaluating before that, no. You guys were way off base.
Dude, look at this mustache. What is it, Healy?
That's Sean Haley or Jay.
Holy fuck, balls, man. Wait till you
get got the porn stash working.
An up close look at this dirt squirrel, man. It looks like a raccoon, like perched on his upper lip. It is disgusting. How so the bullpen game, your thoughts on bullpenning in general?
Hey, look, my big thing, and you and I talked about it before, is when you have a bullpen game, and especially early in a series, I get a chance to see everybody in the bullpen. So when they come in at later dates, I've already seen them. I'm already exposed to them. I know how they're pitching, not only myself, but my teammates. So you start exposing your bullpen like that. For me personally, you kind of doing me a favor. But now this is the modern day game, and trying to matchups and all that sort of stuff. So it is what it is.
Amo's right. Stashes of baseball definitely need to be an entire episode. I mean, I didn't realize how dirty that was. I mean, here we are, like they're going up close on him. But how fascinating is it? Fuck.
Oh, you're funny.
Thrill, I gotta run. Like I don't literally I'm keeping the entire house awake. All the boys have a game in the morning, early tomorrow morning. So we'll get moving here. Any
Where you at right
thoughts?
now? Where you at?
We're in Cary, North Carolina at the USA Complex.
Okay, so you're an hour ahead. It's 10 o'clock there.
Oh, dude, 10 o'clock, and I got like the biscuit sleeping behind me. You got Ty and Jagger, my man Jamie upstairs. Like it's they're probably like, dude, Burns, shut the fuck up. So
I get it. Look, we'll get caught up. Next week we're gonna go Tuesday as scheduled. We'll see what the Giants are gonna do for the next few games. And I will have more reports from Eugene. We can talk about some of the guys I'm going to be watching, et cetera, et cetera.
Question for you. Maybe Luker can help us out because I know you've been away and I've been away. Where are we with the College World Series right now? Like, how's LSU doing?
You know what? That's a great question, and I don't know. Luker, I know that LSU beat just because I heard people talk about it on the boat. LSU beat Tennessee. They lost to Wake Forest. They beat Tennessee again, and I don't know where they are after that. I know Florida was playing well. I know Florida was in the winners bracket. So that's all I know.
It said live 5 hours ago, LSU battles Wake Forest. Did they just lose to Wake tonight? LSU eliminated Tennessee.
Yeah, and LSU beat Tennessee twice. They eliminated Tennessee yesterday. And then they were playing Wake Forest today. They beat Wake Forest 5-2 is what they said just now. Florida advances to the final. So Florida is going to be one of the teams that's in there and go from there.
And you guys, let me just get this straight. The College World Series, the Thunder and Lightning, went down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. So now here's the thing. Here's the thing about the College World Series back then. I don't know why, but it was double elimination up until you got to the championship game, and it was single elimination. So you had to lose twice, but then when you got to the championship game, it was all or nothing.
Well, I don't like that.
I don't know. That was the rules back then. And we played a night game against Texas, and we were winning. And then our pitcher got hit with a freaking line drive, and we brought in the bullpen, and all hell broke loose. So we wound up losing, and I didn't get to bed till 11:30, I guess. And we had a 10:30 game the next day in Omaha, and it was 90-something degrees next day at 10:30. So that made for a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's hot as balls. And then, Jeff Brantley was on that team. Bobby Thigpen was on that team. And then, of course, Thunder and Lightning, Palmero and you.
Yeah.
Anybody else I'm missing?
So they're saying that LSU plays Wake Forest again tomorrow, and evidently the winner of that goes on to play Florida, best 2 out of 3 for the whole marbles.
I like the 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, dude. Well, okay, good show. Good shit as always. Let's reconvene next week, Tuesday. I'll either still be in North Carolina or potentially back in Tahoe by then. But yeah, man, I'm glad you made it home, fucking in one piece, and the cruise didn't Titanic on you or anything. And
I'm glad to be back. Like I said, back in the heat. But looking forward to getting out to Eugene, seeing those kids out there, and then doing some shows with you in the meantime. And I'll be back in the Bay Area end of July for Autism Night. We'll be out there messing around out there, having some fun.
Love it. All right, dude. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week. Go up. I'd say go Giants, but I actually bet on the Padres tonight, so I can't fucking say that.
I actually thought that out of all of the games, that the Giants would actually do pretty good against Darvish because they've seen him so much. But he punched out the side already once. So
Well, this is the old school traditional starting pitcher going up against a bullpen. So
there you go.
always like betting on the old school every now and then. And this isn't anything against the Giants. I love everything they're doing. I plan on doing an entire no filter fucking video on Jock Peterson and the crew and just the eclectic misfits characters.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
And as Nora just said, ladies and gentlemen, see ya.
See ya! And yo, Amo, Braves? Yeah, man. We'll see.